Welcome back to another episode of Psychic Evolution. I'm Jamie Clark.
And I'm Maggie Clark, and this is a podcast where you discover the psychic potential within to empower yourself and manifest your psychic and mediumship gifts.
These abilities are so natural, they're supernatural.
That's right. And today we want to talk about channeling. We get a lot of questions around, okay, who is a good channel? What types of channeling are there? How do you learn how to channel? What does it look like? So in this episode, we want to talk about what's the difference between a channel and a trance-channel. What does channeling actually mean when we're connecting to spirit? Can we channel other things? What is this whole channeling thing about? So this whole episode will be around channeling and the different aspects of it as we see it surface more and more in the spiritual communities.
You know, and on average, the channeling people tend to, is my eyes rolling back in my head? And like, no, man, these abilities are so natural, you're receiving the information. And for myself, I channel information depending on the dynamics of what I'm channeling. If it's other spiritual beings for spiritual insights, all I do is open up and receive information. I begin to channel that information very naturally, very normally. All I had to do was just be open and receptive to that communication. Because for myself, I wanted to make sure that the best that I can, if I can help others, that I make sure that I help myself as well. Because that ability to channel the information is brilliant, that it can allow us to help others and ourselves. It's a win-win. And being able to be comfortable with that label, in this case of being a channel, is a huge dynamic of comfort. Because we've got to be able to do the best we can to fit the spiritual stuff into our life, or we start feeling like we're going over the edge, man. And so for myself, it's the day-to-day practicality of channeling information, whether it is channeling it for one of the books that I'm writing, or for the children's books that I'm channeling through my mom on the other side, which is right here, right now. But there are many different ways to channel the information. Mag has her own expertise and her own dynamics of what she does as a channel and working towards a trance channel and some of those connections. But the ability to be comfortable with the ability to work with energy, it's all one.
So channeling in an essence is becoming a conduit for either information, messages from spirit. You can channel energy, you can channel messages, you can channel all kinds of things. I don't know if there's anything you can't channel the essence of. So with channeling, you're just opening yourself to become a conduit for the energy of what it is that you want to channel. And so as Jamie's talking, I'm thinking, okay, he's channeling information. So it could be information from his master guide, Chi. It could be information from your loved ones during a mediumship reading. It could be psychic information that he's channeling from the all that is essence, from the quantum soup possibilities of what direction would I take for this, that, or the other thing. And so when we use the word channel, and the way that the word channeling is being used now in the spiritual community is a good thing to know, that you could be channeling a lot of different types of things. And the old school channeling of entities is another type of channeling. And so everybody, just like we're all psychic mediums, we're all energy healers, we are all channelers. When we want to channel the essence of a spirit or the essence of a cat or a bird or the ocean, really, step outside the box with the word channeling and just kind of realize that all you're doing is opening up to allow yourself to channel the essence of what it is you are, quote unquote, channeling. And now the clearer the channel you are, the clearer and more pure the energy is from the source. So if you are a very clear channel, which means you can step aside a little bit, it's very difficult to put your whole ego on the side and be like, okay, all of Maggie's personality has to step to the side, step backwards, take a nap, do whatever, and then allow information to channel through. Most channels are very conscious, and it's very difficult to take your own life perspective completely out of the equation, and all of your information upstairs and how you process information in the delivery of the message. And so a clear channel is someone who can more easily step aside and not put their own agenda or their own perspectives on the information coming in. And a clear channel can literally just almost like step aside and just get more of a clarity of message, more of the pure essence of the energy of what it is they're channeling. But there is that scenario where we see that there's a ton of books channeled out there. People are channeling information from Atlantis and from Lemuria and from other ages. But this is not historical factual information. This is channeled information. So the clearer the channel, the more factual that information is, but we can't prove it with some of the channeling, which is why we're always careful, right? So really, when we hear someone channel or when we're looking for people that channel, you have to really ask yourself, does this feel like a pure source energy, or does it feel like this person's perspective is more involved? And I think that's the first thing that we ask, whatever it is we're reading or watching or consuming that is called channeling, whether it's a book or a movie or something on social media. We look at these things and like, I'm channeling this and I'm channeling that. And it's entirely possible. We could all channel. This is so natural, supernatural. Everyone can do this. The difference is between a clear channel and a not so clear channel is I could say I'm channeling, but what if? And here's the question with channeling. What if Maggie's little ego gets in the way and says, no, this is the way, this is my perspective, and I'm going to infuse this into the message because it feels like it fits here. It feels like, oh, my perspective fits right into the message coming from spirit. And then all of a sudden that message from spirit is part message from spirit and then part Maggie's interpretation of the message from spirit or what she thinks would fit in there. And so not that I try to do this, trust me, this is something we all try to avoid when we channel, but it's quite possible that some channels are not as clear because they don't know themselves enough to take themselves completely out, or they have control issues and can't take themselves completely out, or just by chance being who they are is just a part of the channeling process.
And to be open to the information is not always easy. For myself, my meditations, my mantras, my safety rules and regs are always in place before I'm doing anything. I'm on autopilot now, but I wanted to make sure that if I'm opening up, I'm not having to go, I hope, is that a good one? Frick that. I know that in my own parameters that only the good channels. So anyone who connects or communicates with me in any way, psychic mediumship, any of those, is only on the good channel or I do not exist. That allows me to be a lot more open and receptive to receive the information, because if I didn't know that I was safe, I'd be like, I hope I'm, and I'd be so distracted with other things that I would maybe not become that clearer channel. For me, it is the practicality to go, I have my parameters around so that I know if I'm working with this ability, my parameters are already in place and I've got safety. That allows me to be more relaxed, more receptive, and more integrative with the information that I might receive. Because as Mag was bringing up, sometimes it will need to be put in a human concept way, like, hey, here's the regular people and like us, and we can find ourselves. Not everyone is into the esoteric, ancient information as easily as they can be for practical day-to-day solutions. And if we can receive information, channel that information, because like Mag was sharing, is it's not only just channeling information of beings or entities, but channeling energy, frequencies, many different ways of channeling information. I've just learned I am the conduit who keeps it clean and clear. So any energy that rolls through me is clean and clear. So I'm not having to pick up stuff afterwards, go, oh, I'm all tired and stuff. Like, no, I want to keep it easy and practical so that I don't have to have all of these steps before I do something. I'm already of those steps of the mentality of safety and harmony so that it's more relaxed and receptive. And when I can communicate, it's from a place of empowerment, not fear, because I already know that any information coming through is only in the positive, productive, loving mode.
So always before channeling, set up your safety, your rules and regs. And if you haven't listened, we have several episodes. You can go to our website and the episodes, just write in safety and a bunch will pop up. And one is called Psychic Safety at the end of season 5. So as we move forward with channeling, that is the key here, is to try to take as much out of our own perspective, our own filtration system out. And this is an art. This is a science. And recently I've added on to some of my services a healing session that is channeled with Archangel Raphael and Green Terra. Now, these are 2 soul prints of energy that I've worked with before. And so I know and recognize their soul print energy as they step into any energy field. So when I'm offering these healing sessions, if I'm guided by Raphael or if I'm guided by Green Terra to do X, Y, or Z, then I can clearly say, okay, I'm being guided right now. Or Archangel Raphael is asking me to open up your chakra system here. He's putting his hand right here on your crown chakra. It's an energetic exchange of information. Now, typically in a session like that, I ask that the beings that I've called in, which is my spirit team, your spirit team, and these 2 beings of Archangel Raphael and Green Terra, I ask that they actually let me know what it is they're doing so I can help communicate that to the person on the table, and then also hold space for them as they can activate that energy, not only through their activation from where they are in spirit, but through my energy as well. So I open myself up as a channel to channel some of their healing energy through me. So I now am definitely a part of this process here. I'm not just a clear channel where it's just their energy. It's their energy, and they're using my life force energy. And of course, whoever's we're working with, their energy as well. So it's a combination. So it's almost like a channeling of a lot of different energies coming together for the same intent, the same purpose. And that is the way it was, brought to the surface of awareness for me, and said, hey, this would really be a really cool thing. You should do this. Okay, I'll do this, Spirit. Thank you. And so that is a type of channeling, but that is not what we would call trance-channeling. Trance-channeling is when it is completely not you, and you let go of everything. You let go of control of your breath, control of your voice, you allow spirit to enter into your physical vehicle, to take over your body, take over your vocal cords, to take over your breathing, so that they can speak through you. Now that's called trance-channeling. There are very few trance channels that I even pay attention to, because they have to be really, really good. And I have to think that they're authentic and really like they are channeling someone from spirit. And it feels like that's exactly what they're doing. Some people tell me, oh, I'm a trance channel. And then I'll listen to them and I was like, I don't feel that. I still feel a part of you there. And so this is where it gets a little hectic. Anyone can tell you anything, but what do you feel? And that's the most important thing. Trance channeling takes a while to learn for some people. For some people, it's a natural gift. But it's one of those things that if you have a shadow of a doubt that there's too much Maggie in there, I'm going to say this is channeling. This is not trance channeling, because I do not want to disrupt my relationship to spirit. And if I tell people, hey, I'm doing trance channeling Archangel Raphael, yet there's still a piece of Maggie that's in there guiding the way, I am not a true trance channel in that moment. I'm a channel, but I'm still part of this process. And so our language around channeling needs to be understood, so that when we're watching a channeler or when we're seeking information that can be channeled, that we have to remember it is coming through a filtration system of whoever the channel is.
And not only that, as those who know me know, I always talk about Dr. Masaru Emoto and how thoughts affect the molecular structure of water. And for me, I always say the fact that, well, they have scientifically validated, and they have pictures with Dr. Masaru Emoto of when the information was there. But if you're doing psychic or mediumship or channeling anyway, you are picking up other thought processes. For me, I wanted to make sure that I am always safe and harmonized, and that I have my own energy vibe of what I call the primordial flame, which is a bluish purple flame, which is on the inside and everywhere. But it is automatically a transmuter so that it stays clean and clear. There is no worry about it, and it's an always on vibrational pattern of energy so that I can relax, I can receive the information, but I don't wear the energy with it. I just am the information.
So how do you use that for channeling then?
For myself and my mind sight and my inner beingness and all around, I see a purplish bluish flame that is always on. And Jesus, JC as I call him, shared the fact that it is the flame that transmutes but does not burn. And so for me, I've got it on autopilot. So when I receive any information, I know that one, like I said, any information I'm receiving is on the good channel only. But not only that, the vibrational patterns of that conscious information, whatever it is not permeating and saturating my beingness. It is enveloped and connected with. It is integrated and harmonized so that it's always harmonized. That kind of a connection allows me to more receptively open up to the information without fear and trepidation, but empowerment and self-realization.
And just like we tune into channels when we're listening to the other side or to our spirit guides, we call those channels of connection, right? Like tuning in a radio dial on a radio. So we're tuning into different channels. Now, when we open up to those channels, we are now channeling some aspect of that energy. And so again, having that great filtration system of, for you, that's like primordial fire. That's pretty badass, by the way. I do love that. And, and so making sure that, when we're opening up to receiving information, we have now accepted a responsibility to channel that information. And to what extent and to how you want to work with it really is up to you. And I just encourage you all to be very authentic with your channeling. If you feel like you're getting a message from spirit, but you don't know who the spirit is, don't make anything up. Don't say, hey, I'm channeling Archangel Michael today. If you really don't know, it's okay to say, I don't know who this is, but I feel it's a loving spirit. And if it's on the angelic realm, then you could say, I feel it's an angel and I feel like this is the energy there. And this is something that we tend to say a lot on Psychic Evolution is I feel this and I feel that. Not like this is a fact, more like this is what I am sensing. This is what I'm feeling. It allows us as we're working with our channeling to open up in a very comfortable way with no pressure of I've got to make sure I get it right or get it wrong. We're just talking about how we are sensing the information, how we are feeling into that channeled information. And then think of that channel as just like the telephone receiver. Hello, I am now opening up to this level of communication. What can I receive? Now with channeling, you can also open yourself up to energy. So it's not just information. You could open up to someone else's or an entity's soul print of energy and allow that energy to infuse with your energy. So you're becoming now a channel of energy from the other side. So a lot of people do healing from spirit this way. And they're saying, yes, I'm going to use spirit and allow spirit to channel through me for healing, or allow the Christ consciousness to channel through me for healing. These are types of energies that can be channeled when you are focused on healing. So you're combining your energy with the spirit of whoever you're channeling. So realize how you channel depends on, one, your awareness, what you're asking for, what you're ready to channel, what you want to channel, and then how do you open to receive it?
Not only that, it's the blind faith, which is nice, but question it. For me, I'm like, hey, who's this coming from? If I didn't have a grasp on who it was, because I'm not going to let just some Joe Schmo, so to speak, saunter on through going, hey, by the way, I wanted to make sure that for myself, that's why we're always very strong about rules and regs first. That way you can relax into this and work with it, navigate through the dynamics that aren't always so easy and comfortable to deal with. But it's also, for me, I wanted to make sure it's not just a one-way street to go, all I can do is receive information. I can't ask questions. I'm like, really? I'm going to freaking ask questions. I do know that the more I know, the more I know. I don't know nothing. But if I can ask these questions and for myself have that comfort to at least know, for the most part, who I'm dealing with, because, again, it's only the productive. But if I want more comfort and I want more understanding about who it is, is or how the connection is being made, they'll be usually very good and inform me. Because if they didn't, beep, I'd stop the connection. I'm not silly, but why am I going to do that if they're not willing to be a team? For me, this is teamwork. And all I am is the conduit to receive information. All of us are receiving information at one time or another and may not even realize it. It's just thoughts that drop into your mind and the mind chatter sometimes, and depending on what it is. But also knowing your own identity, your own soul print of consciousness, and others. Because if you don't have an idea of who you are as this person, then you won't know what's your stuff or other people's. And that's when they start to lose themselves to the process rather than finding themselves within it. It's a big difference.
And I think that's the biggest key with channeling is literally going, okay, here I am. I'm going to open up, and then trusting and allowing and, again, stepping out of the way. So I grew up, in my spiritual life, I grew up, once I woke up, with a trance channel. So Marion was the type of trance channel who was completely unconscious when spirit came in. Like, they would come in and he would exit out, and his consciousness was somewhere else. So if the entities, I call them the guys, if the guys would come in and channel through him, because there was a lot of different entities that he channeled, which is why I call it plural, the guys. If they would come in and channel, and there was women too, I just called them the guys. If they would come through, Marion would be completely out. So if Marion was sitting there having a conversation with you, like, hey, did you see the bird and then the guys come through, right? They start talking however they talk, saying whatever they say, whatever they need to come in and say or do, there they are. And then when they leave, Marion picks up right where he starts, in the tree and blah, blah, blah. Like, he doesn't even know that they slipped in and out of his being. So this was an interesting dynamic when I was studying with Marion, because I had to read these soul prints as they came in, because I always wanted to know who it was. And so I got really good at knowing which soul print was which entity that would channel through Marion often. And there's times I didn't know. Most of the time I knew. And if I didn't know, or if I couldn't place it, I would ask for a name, and if it might be someone I had never met before. And so there was always that possibility I could meet new entities. But regardless of that, Marion was what I would consider a true trance channel, because he just wasn't aware of what the other side was saying.
But that brings up an interesting point. Did he ever share that he found himself by the water, or was it always just a complete blank slate and he would just find himself picking up where he left off? How did some of that work?
Yeah, he would just pick up where he left off. And sometimes, if the guys were in for hours and hours, he'd wake up, he'd be taken out in the morning and wake up when it was evening going, okay, there goes a day, whoa. So there was, he had his own parameters he had around channeling, of course, with his team, and they honored that, of course. But that was definitely a true trance channel. There's no making stuff up here. At all. Now, I've also witnessed Summer Bacon. She is who I consider a very authentic trance channel. She channels an entity named Dr. Peebles, and you can find her work at summerbacon.com and listen to trance channels that have been recorded from Dr. Peebles. I think she's a very good channel for Dr. Peebles, and I think she's very authentic, and she's very, very good at what she does. And so she is someone that I think is really, really authentic. Other than that, I haven't met a ton. Actually, I don't know if I've personally met any other trance channels that I would say are authentic. But then again, I haven't met a lot of trance channels at all. Okay. I've only seen other ones on the internet. And there was another one that I actually did like. I don't remember her name off the top of my head. I have it written down somewhere, that I think she trance channeled Pleiadian aliens. She was a very good trance channel too. So, but other than that, I haven't seen any that I'm like falling in love with, or that I'm always like, well, is this real or is this not real? And I question that. I have been in this field for over 30 years and I still question, is this true or is this not true? Same thing with books. I'll read channeled books and I'll be like, okay, there's something about this book that is really, really good. And then I'll read some and I'll be like, yeah, I'm not sure about that. And sometimes you could like part of the book and then think part of it isn't 100% authentic from the other side. And so these are things you just have to be aware of when you're discovering channeling, when you're looking into who should I work with for channeling, or who should I learn from, or who's a good channel, I can only give you my experience. But again, you need to really feel into that.
And I think being able to get yourself comfortable with who and the way you want to receive these channels of information. That's why I was asking about Marion, is apparently he was fine with not even recalling that he was somewhere else. He would just pick up right where he left off and not be fearful. With his channeling, did you see potentially some beings that would come at certain times or certain circumstances, or would they just all come in different ways? How did some of that work?
Well, Marion had a lot of students, and every student of his usually had a spirit entity that would come in, channel and come in and work with us. So there would be certain entities that would come through for those specific people. There were times I got to meet my higher self a couple of times as Jesse channeled through Marion, and I was like, wow, talk about like, I don't know. How do you not cry through that whole process when you meet yourself in another capacity? I don't know. It's amazing. It's an interesting vibration, because you know that that's you, but that's also not your familiar energy. Maggie has her own little unique energy in her vast soul print. So you feel that the soul print is there with a different uniqueness around it. It would depend on what Marion was doing, if he was teaching, if he was doing a public channeling, a private channeling, if it was a student, if it was a class. And, I must say, though, the guys on the other side have a great sense of humor, and they are here to really help support us on our journey. And they're amazing. Honestly, our spirit teams are freaking amazing.
Was he allowed to remember a lot of the information that flowed through him? Or how did that work for him?
At times they would bring his consciousness in, and because they wanted him to be aware of a conversation that was taking place. Most of the time he was not aware. Sometimes they would be like, hey, we're bringing Marion in so he can hear this and remember this as well. So there was times that, yes, he was aware, but it was a very conscious thing. Usually guys would let me know, or,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think giving people some information, because it's not easy to go, oh, be happy and let all the energy come through. It's like, I want to make sure it's good stuff. And unless you have your parameters around it, that's pretty much what you'd be like, oh, it's a good thing. You're like, yeah, frickin' A, it is a good thing. And again, whatever works, prayers, mantras, meditate, anything, whatever works for you, that you know you are safe and solid with the communications, finding yourself within the process, not losing yourself to it. And that kind of a benefit is, in this case, Marion was the channel of a lot of very powerful information. And it's kind of nice when you can be twofold. Not only is it that you were able to share the insights with others that are around, but that you got out of your own way and you were allowed to remember a lot of the insights that you did share to help others that you can now help yourself with. Because, I playfully always say, hi, I'm Jimmy. I'm no longer a hypocrite. As much of a service to others, I keep myself included, because people don't always know how to help the one who helps everyone else. And for me, I found that the more love, energy, attention, and compassion I gave myself was more that I could share with others, because I cannot give what I do not have. And moving it from the ego to go, man, everyone can do this. It's, do you want to, and what level do you want to take it to? We see such an influx of so many people that are just waking up their abilities. But I don't know, I'm just getting tuned in. I'm like, that's brilliant. Good. Keep on owning what you're friggin' doing, because it's working. So, in a way, it's playful, but serious to go, whatever is comfortable for you, your rules, your regs, parameters, anything, any specific beings that you would like to connect with or disconnect from, depends on what your circumstance is for me, I'm always as practical as possible, because I want to cover as many bases as possible so that I can step back and let the process happen, because I already know that everything is safe, sound, and connected. And that allows me to more freely open and be relaxed into this, instead of a little uncertain to go, oh, it's like, man, I know it's good. And my team is very good to have my back always. Not only my back, my front, my sides, top, bottom, everything. It is the well-roundedness of my soul, the evolution of our psychic senses. And when we can grow into this, it becomes a lot more empowering.
And then I always suggest you can start practicing with where you're comfortable. Like if you want to start practicing channeling, your higher self will work with you and be like, hey, you want me to come in? Sure, I'll come in, I'll definitely come in. And if you're working with your certain spirit guides, usually what happens when you start channeling a lot is you form what's called a gatekeeper. Most channelers have a gatekeeper, and this is an entity that is his or her sole purpose working with you at that moment is to make sure that only positive energy comes through that gate or that doorway, so to speak, so that you can take in only that positive energy. And so setting up that with your spirit team, making sure that you feel confident and comfortable. Right now, as I'm channeling, if I'm not recognizing a soul print right away, I'm asking, Marion to bring and walk these people forward so that I know that they're safe for me and that they're okay with me. If I don't know already their soul print on the other side. Now, if I do know their soul print, I can easily be like, all right, cool, let's do this. You can channel loved ones. That sometimes is weird for people and sometimes comfortable for people, depending on where you are. I've been making a magical object these days, and my grandfather has been stepping in because he knows all these things that I am unaware of. And so as he was sharing with me how to sand a piece of wood the other day, I was like, well, why don't you come in and help me? And so I literally opened up to channeling some of his energy along with my own. It wasn't trance-channeling. It was just channeling. It was like a kind of a combo deal. So he could kind of help guide my hands and teach me how to sand this, because I haven't sanded anything since he taught me woodworking since I was a child. And so to know that from the other side, we have some of that support and they're here to help us, and they can, if we ask them to, they can come in and help us do certain things that we're creating or building in our lives. So that's another way that some of you might be comfortable working with channeling. So again, first, rules and regs, safety first. Decide who you want to channel, where you're comfortable starting. Some people are like, well, I don't know if I'm comfortable starting with an entity or a soul print type of energy. And I was like, okay, cool. Do you like the ocean? What if you were to channel the ocean through your being? What would that feel like? Would you like to feel the tides rolling through you and the course and the waves and the intensity of this beautiful body of water? I mean, you can get a little bit creative as to what you can channel, because everything is energy. Even if it's physical, even if it's manifested, it is purely energetic as well. So anything could be channeled from an energy standpoint.
I think it's interesting, but you bring up a very interesting point, which was, as you were talking with Marion would be able to come back and bring you information more effectively that you could implement or integrate in your life. It wasn't the esoteric and how am I supposed to fit that in? It's like, here, be practical. If you've got information, if you've got a question, ask it. But also it sounds like Marion, of course, was tucked off to the side, but it wasn't like he was out of control. If anything, he was in complete control. All he did was allow the communications to happen through empowerment, not fear.
Yeah, he had his own little nook of the cosmos he went to, honestly, like,
Cool.
and he did not have any memory of whatever was transpiring, unless his spirit team brought him in to listen to something. And so it was very interesting. And Marion got challenged a lot when he was younger, and some of the things that, the stories are really, really funny. So I guess I will tell a funny story about this. One of the entities that Marion channeled was John. His name was John. And John was doing a public channeling, and it was in someone's house. And this is a long time ago. I think before I even met Marion. So this is like, I don't know, 40, 50 years ago or something. He's doing a public channeling, and there's a skeptic there. And this guy goes, I don't believe you. I think you are not who you say you are. I think that this is all fake. And so John conveniently started giving out hotel names, room numbers, exact dates. And the guy was just like, stop. Okay, I believe you. And then he left. And because all of these, he might have been having an affair or something going on, but he specifically was like, really, you don't think that this is spirit? Here you go. We know exactly where you've been. We know exactly what you're doing. And so does everyone else now. How do you like that? So it was very interesting because I've seen skeptics challenge people like Marion. And what can you do with that? How could you prove it anymore? That spirit knows where you are and knows things that no one else would know. And that's really what it is. And when we become psychic mediums, we are now channeling quote unquote information that people go, how do you know that? I don't know. Your grandfather told me, or your mom on the other side told me, or, I just know that because I'm psychic. And so remember that when we tune into these channels, we open up to channeling. Now, to what extent are we going to take it? To where are we going to go with it? That is completely based off of your rules, your regulations, and what you want to do with this energy. How do you want to serve? How do you want to be with this energy? And then overcoming any fear you have around channeling energy. Or because every entity is an energy signature. Even if you're channeling the ocean, that's an energy. So getting comfortable with that is a learning process. So if you are interested in channeling, I do encourage you, start with something that's familiar, close to you, comfortable for you. Make sure your rules and regs are set up. Make sure you feel comfortable with your gatekeeper on the other side. And then have fun with it, to have a lot of fun with it. Always in love for the best of all concerned.
Beautiful. And I think that giving ourselves more comfort will allow ourselves to receive more information and comfort, because as much as we can help others, we're allowed to help ourselves too. It is actually a very good thing, and sometimes people just need to know it's okay to help yourself and others. It doesn't only have to be one way. But bringing up the story that you were sharing, this is some Joe Schmo in the connection who was in the audience in whatever way, and they're like, yeah. Don't you find it interesting that the team, whoever was channeling through Marion, was able to give specific dates and times for him to go, holy cow, we're all interconnected. It's all one. But it became a lot more real for this Joe Schmo person who didn't know Marion apparently in any way and thought, yeah, this is a bunch of crap, until he was rolling through that information to go, there's no freaking way you could know that except... holy cow. And I love when people shift that, because they go from, yeah, sure, to, It's like, right, either good guesswork or, maybe something to it.
Some people think it's too good to be true, when a big entity steps forward and gives you this beautiful message, and you'd be like, yeah, it's hogwash, or it could be like, whoa, that's the best thing I've ever heard. And so, again, you'll feel it. You'll feel the energy. You'll feel the authenticity. And, it's really listen with all of your perceptive ears. So, and also automatic writing is a form of channeling. And so if you want to try your little turn at channeling through automatic writing, pick up a pen, just start free flow writing. Don't think, just write, see what comes out. And maybe you'll get a piece of information from one of your spirit guides. Who knows? What's the possibility?
And all you needed to do was tune in, because it's always playing. That's the connection. Let it play within your soul. It will give you the music to share, the love to give, and to have. That as much as we share, we can receive even more. It doesn't only have to be just one way. As much as I help others, I keep myself included.
So have fun with your psychic evolution. Have fun channeling energy, love, spirit, whatever is calling to you to channel. And let's hear how it goes for you. We'd love to hear your success stories. Feel free, if you want to do some more training on this, we do have monthly training sessions the second Monday of every month, and it's at 6 p.m. Arizona time, so you can join us for our monthly training sessions. You could also join our mystery school if you want to keep learning, taking classes, getting monthly meditations, and developing even further in your psychic evolution. So have fun, and we look forward to seeing you again. And thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We couldn't do this without you guys.
Let's do this together.
In our psychic evolution.